Welcome to the HIO Show. I'm Stu Cowan, your host, joined by Chris Nilan, Jessica Rusnak, and Pat Hickey. It's been a busy summer for the Canadiens so far. Alex Galchenyuk signing a 3-year contract worth $14.7 million. Chris, will he be playing center or wing when the season starts?
Who knows? I'm surprised he's here. All the talk of him getting moved. Apparently there were no takers for that player, or at least no takers with a deal that made sense. Probably everybody was trying to take advantage of the situation Bergevin was in, because he did have his back up against it a little bit there, and you know, we'll see what happens. Yeah, and we're going to see again. Now, it's funny. The two highest goal scorers in the team. Lowly paid, right? They're around $4 million.
Yeah,
right? They both scored 30 goals.
He's making more than Max Pacioretty now. He's making $400,000 a year more.
It's funny that way. That Bergevin he looks like a genius. 2 30-goal scorers for that price, but you know, we'll see what he's going to do. They need a centerman. Can Claude Julien mold this kid into that all-around centerman who can at least be partly responsible on his own end, because he just doesn't have a clue when it comes to playing defense in his own end.
But it sounded at the postmortem, Pat, like they've given up on him being center. I wonder if there's more of a chance of them working with Drouin to be a center than Galchenyuk.
The problem is that they're not confident in either one of them. When I talked to Claude at the draft, he said that the problem with both of the guys, they can play center at the offensive end, but they have to make a commitment to come back. He's looking for that commitment from one of the two. I think that physically, Galchenyuk's a lot more capable of filling that role because he's a bigger guy. Drouin's not very big, and but I think it's just a question of whether he makes the commitment. This is an interesting trade. It makes him there's no interesting signing. There's no trade clause. So therefore, he's tradable. It's a decent salary, as Chris just pointed out. So, you know, there's all sorts of things that could happen between now and then, or even a year from now. But, you know, right now, they have centers. Philip Deneau will have to be one of the top 6 guys. The Canadiens will continue to do what he does and shut down. And they have, you know, Torrey Mitchell. They got Michael McCarron. They've got a bunch of guys who can play on that fourth line. You know, but
Bergevin had said expect the unexpected, though, Jess, and I'm still sort of waiting for that. I don't know if
I think he's trying to figure out what the unexpected is that he's planning to shock everyone with. That I think Alex Galchenyuk being a center is not going to happen. I think it's something that they just have to move on from, that it hasn't worked out. But maybe that unexpected, because this contract is very easy to digest and very favorable, that maybe Bergevin, now that Galchenyuk is signed, it'll be easier to trade him and get something back. But as we were talking about, when teams know that you're kind of desperate to trade this guy, you're not going to get the best thing from it. But what I found interesting was after the announced Galchenyuk signing, there was really no word from the Montreal Canadiens. There was no conference call with Alex Galchenyuk.
Statement.
Yeah, saying how excited he is to come back. No statement from Marc Bergevin in the press release. So I think the circumstances around it is pretty interesting.
You want unexpected? I think everybody expected Alex Radulov would sign a contract. Yeah. That's unexpected. I think everybody expected Andrei Markov would be back. That still hasn't happened. That's unexpected. Everybody expected Galchenyuk to be traded. That hasn't happened. We've got lots of unexpecteds.
Well, Radulov, that's a big hole, Chris.
It is a big hole. You know, I'm a little disappointed in him. And I said, listen, I understand the business part of it. I got traded. I know what that's like. I was so loyal to this organization. I felt so betrayed when I got traded.
You're a dog guy, though.
I was so passionate about playing for this organization. Now, I never wanted to go anywhere else. Radulov came back here. Bergevin gave him an opportunity. The money was the same. The tax situation, I guess, isn't so much the same. And he left to make a few more dollars. So what I don't like is, you know what? I hate hearing the happy horse shit from Radulov talking about the fans. Oh, it's all about the fans. That's all he said here. The fan, the Montreal fan, the best. And I love Montreal. And you know what? You know what you can do with that. Listen, he earned the right to move. I get it. But you know what you can do with that. To me, you know.
I think he did love the
I wish he
fans, and
stayed.
he was disappointed that they didn't give him a lot.
Give him the
Well,
5-year
that-
contract. I think that was
I
the
think
thing.
he wanted to stay, and he
Well,
was disappointed.
he
Yeah,
said
you
that
got to
in
be
the
crazy to give him what he wanted. You got to be crazy to give him that amount.
We'll
of
find
money.
out, though. He's going to go play now with Ben and Sagan.
Well, that's
in
what he
Dallas.
said in his conference call with the Dallas Stars, that he spoke to Jim Nill, he spoke to Jamie Benn, and he felt wanted. And I think that was
think
a
that
subtle
was a big
hint to
part
the
of it.
Montreal Canadiens.
Now, he's gone. Andrei Markov, as of the taping of this show, still hasn't signed with the Canadiens, hasn't signed anywhere else. Should they give him a 2-year, $12 million deal, or let him go, Chris?
I think they should give him 2 years at maybe 5. Yeah, here's a guy that was making what, 5.75. He fires his agent. Now he wants another $250. He saved on the agent fee already. Shut up and sign.
But he didn't have an agent last time either. He didn't have an agent last time.
But again, with Radulov, it's the same thing. He wants term, right, Pat? He wants.
There are two solutions here. One is, as Chris says, give him the 2 years at 5. I'd even give him the 2 years at 6. And it's one of those, the old adage in the business: you always sign a guy for 1 year more than you should. When they signed a 3-year contract, everybody said that was 1 year too many. And this was arguably his best year of the 3 years that on that contract. He did have the benefit of being injured for 20 games and missing 20 games, and that's probably why he was fresh at the end of the season, where he wasn't 2 seasons ago when they got to the playoffs. The other alternative is maybe offer him 1 year at 6.5.
Yeah.
Give him a bit of a raise. That way he can say, well, I got something. The Canadians bent a little bit. The Canadians can say they have the money, and then they're not stuck for the second year.
Maybe you should be GM of the Canadiens.
But if I'm Andrei Markov, free agency is now 5 days gone, that he's been on the market, people have been able to negotiate with him, and he hasn't been able to put together a big list of suitors, that there was talks that he was talking with the Philadelphia Flyers. Perhaps it was him leaking that to try and get some pressure, but the fact that no one else is signing him, I think that Andrei Markov needs to reevaluate what he's wanting and what is the realistic of it. I would do a 2-year deal and put more of the money, give him 7 years the first year and 3 the second year.
Well, Chris, the thing is, Markov's not your typical 38-year-old guy. I mean, there was video of him working out on the beach on social media with his shirt off. I mean, it's a heck of a workout. He's an example, I think, to some of the younger guys. Maybe he's not the soft and cuddly teammate, but just as far as the work ethic it takes to continue to play in the NHL, how much is that worth?
Working out on the beach is different than playing an NHL game. And has he lost a little bit of that half step? Yeah, but he's still a guy that when he's in his own end, he's quick enough, smart enough, and good enough with his stick to be able to compensate for all that. I think it's more in the neutral zone transition game where he can get in trouble when he gets caught leaning flat-footed and stuff. He is in good shape. Listen, that first contract after his knee surgery they signed, I thought they were nuts to sign him to that. And look where he is now. He is fit. I don't think 2 years is going to break the back of the Montreal Canadiens. And here's a guy that, honestly, I'd love to see him retire. I got nothing to do with Andrei Markov as far as knowing him or anything. But
Nobody knows him.
I know him. Yeah, no one knows him. I don't think his mother knows him. But honestly, I think I'd love to see him play his whole career.
They also need him on the power play.
And
They don't have anybody. They don't have
any.
anybody there, and so I think that's why they have to get him.
All right, Jonathan Drouin. No player is going to have more pressure on him this season. The local kid, expecting all the offense. Can he do it? And was giving up Sergachev for him too much?
I don't think giving up Sergachev for him was too much, because you have to give talent to get talent, and that's the only piece that they had in the puzzle that any team would be interested in. And they need to score goals. The Canadiens, for the longest time, were filling up on defensemen. Bergevin kept saying you can never have too many defensemen, but now there's no one on the team that can play defense there. So get someone up. Yes, get someone up front who can potentially score those goals. I think Jonathan Drouin, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to be able to handle this kind of pressure, but it's going to be tough on him. That the moment that he, has 4 or 5 bad games, people are going to come and see him. And as much the French media likes to have a guy who can speak French to come out, and there's not that many of them, so he's going to be asked to come out and speak to the media quite a bit. But he said this is the market that he's always wanted to play in, and he'll get a taste of it.
Well, there is a pressure, though, with the French Canadian market. And I think David Desharnais was good for Philippe Danault in that way when he was here, sort of teaching him how to do it. But Pat Drouin, what do you think?
Well, here's the thing. 30 goals is a good season in the NHL now.
It's a very good season.
It's a very good season. The Canadians have had, 30 goal scorers. Pacioretty's done it consistently and things like that. But if you score each of those goals in one game, there are 52 games you're not going to score a goal. And if 7 or 8 of them, as Jess just mentioned, if you get a streak, then you're going to start saying, what's wrong with Jonathan Drouin? What's he doing off the ice? What's going on? This is a fishbowl here that you're playing in. It's going to be a problem. The other thing is, inevitably, in the third period of a game, he's going to get benched. They're going to be protecting a lead. For one reason or another, he may not be playing well. Claude Julien is going to bench him, and you're going to know there's going to be a storm of tweets from Alan Walsh right after.
Don't worry, Alex Galchenyuk will be sitting right next to him.
It's going to be you're only going to hear these things. Why doesn't the coach treat my player better? The guy's ruining my player.
But Pat, you mentioned that fishbowl. I mean, he won't be able to go anywhere for dinner or anything without being noticed. Chris, you probably still have that situation in Montreal. What's it like, though? What's it like everywhere you go? I've been out with you different places, and you're stopped everywhere you go. What's
I enjoy talking to people. Listen, there's sometimes you like to go do something real quick, and you can't because you have to talk. I go with Jamie to the store. I end up talking to 5 or 6 different people. She walks away. I got to find her. I go to Home Depot. I just bought the house. I'm out at Rona in Home Depot, and talking to everybody. It takes me like an hour to do something that should take me, 20 minutes. But I enjoy it. Again, when you're playing hockey, it's a little different. You're guys are getting hounded all the time for autographs. There's no more innocence in that autograph hunter. You bump into someone. Oh, can I get your autograph?
And now I'm sure with pictures, with everyone having the camera phone.
Yeah,
well, you want to go out for a quiet.
Again. Yeah. He can find his spot, Moniz. He can find a spot to go to relax, but he is going to be he's going to be in the spotlight, and people are going to want a piece of him. Everybody does.
Well, I remember being at a golf tournament sitting beside Yvon Cornway, and he was stopped every 2 minutes, somebody coming for an autograph, and I mentioned to him, doesn't it bother you? And he says, it'll bother me when they stop asking.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you want to go out for a quiet drink after a game. You want to get something to eat and something like that, and say it gets to be 1:30. Which is not unreasonable. If you leave the Bell Center at 11:30 or so, and you have leisurely meal, 1:30, you're going to tweet, what's this guy doing out at 1:30 in the morning?
Well, if he's eating at Chez Paris, it's one thing. But if he's at Da Vinci or
But I heard the buffet is really good there, so maybe that's why.
Well, the biggest news so far this summer, as of the taping of this show, is Carey Price signing a 8-year contract extension worth $84 million. Will the Canadiens regret it? The length of that contract, Chris?
I don't have a problem with it. Listen, everybody said, oh, he's the best player in the world, the best player in the world, the best player in the world. Look what he's done. Now he gets a contract. They're going to regret it. He hasn't won a cup. Why did he give him that much money? Blah, 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 blah. I don't have a problem with it. These guys are getting paid now. He's the best goalie in the world, apparently, and he's getting paid like it. I don't have a problem with it.
I think that's what you had to do to get Carey Price to sign with you. You had to give him term and you had to give him money. I think he could have asked for more, so maybe you could have paid him a little bit more from it. But it is tough. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes forward because no other team in the league has their highest paid player as their goaltender. And people look back at that year when Carey Price got injured and just how the whole season fell apart. But at the same time, you can argue that they really didn't have, they had 2 backup goaltenders that were sharing that starting goaltender position, that if they went out and got a goaltender, say like a Craig Anderson or someone like that who isn't considered an elite goaltender but can get the job done, it'd be interesting to know what the team would be like, but we'll probably never know what the circumstances like.
Every team has priorities, and the Canadiens' priority is play defense, although they paid lip service to getting better offense after they came up short in the playoffs. Carey Price did everything he could, 1.86 goals against average. That should win you a series, but it didn't. And, because they just don't have any offense. I don't know whether they've improved. That had to be one of the things they do. I don't think the defense is as good, and it's certainly not as good if Markov doesn't come back, and that could impact on the goaltender statistics.
I don't think Bergevin really had that much of a choice on this one, though.
No,
we're talking about the defense before, and Carey Price is like a third defenseman out there also.
He had to do it, but the other thing you have to consider is that going forward, you're hoping that the cap goes up, and this is the same thing they're doing in Edmonton with McDavid.
Yeah.
But there's really no reason to believe the cap will go up. Las Vegas is coming in, and they should bring in some more revenue, but not enough that's going to make a big difference in the cap.
Arizona and Carolina.
This year, they had to employ the escalator to get the cap going up from 73 to 75. They can do that again, but what happens is that the escrow kicks in, and more players are getting upset over the escrow. They could have raised it by $3.5–4 million this year, but they only did it by $2 million, and they did that to pacify the players who are upset. If PK Subban loses $1.5 million, $1.7 million on escrow, it's no big deal for him. If a guy making 4.9 like Galchenyuk, he loses 16%. Well, he's still going to come up with $2 million and change by the time he finishes paying his taxes and everything. But a guy who's making $650,000,
that hurts.
It hurts.
Yeah.
A guy who's making $1 million, David Deharnay, it hurts.
You ever wonder what you would have made when you see 84?
Yeah, I have, but again, I don't
You don't like to
my
think
time
about
with
it.
that. I know, it's just whatever. I have my day, and I think about it, I made so much more than like Goalie, Howe, Rocket, all them guys, right? It's just the way, timing's everything.
All right. Has Marc Bergevin made this team better so far? This offseason?
I don't know. They're better in ways, I guess. I don't know. I think the defense is a little suspect right now, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. To me, the proof is in the pudding. Get out and play. We'll see what happens.
I don't think he's done anything to really make this team any better. Yes, he did go get Jonathan Drouin, but now he doesn't have Alex Radulov. Defense.
That's a trade.
Yeah, Carl Alzner, I think, is a better defenseman than Alexei Yemlin. But now you also don't have Nathan Beaulieu that you're scrambling to. You don't have Markov at the moment. So I don't think this team is any better, and he should have a lot more work to do this summer.
It's the same old story, though, right, Pat? Offense.
I remain to be convinced that Jonathan Drouin is the answer. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the top 6 forward in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. He has 29 career goals.
He has 29 career goals. At the same, Galchenyuk's a year older, and he's got 89 goals. I'd like to think that he's going to be a big success here, but I just don't know. I don't know whether there's enough parts that will help him get better, and I don't know whether he can make other players better.
Him walking out on Tampa Bay when things went bad there, Chris, that's still, I wonder about that. Like, how bad can things in Tampa be compared to how bad things in Montreal can be, where everything's multiplied by 100?
It's going to be he's going to have the same agent, and believe me, the agent had something to do with that. So, we'll see.
I think some people see that as a test of strength, that he showed he had confidence in his ability and he was willing to sit out. That it could be. Mm-hmm. It could be, but at the same time you have to say, if the guy's thin-skinned about not getting enough ice time and things like that, and as I said earlier, the agent is going to start tweeting when things don't go the way he thinks it is. You look at all the people who looked at Galchenyuk's ice time, and he was very rarely in the top 5 among the forwards. And that's because there was serious concerns about his defense and things like that. And when you have another defensive coach, a guy who believes in defense, and particularly if they're protecting leads, that's going to be a problem.
I just think when the agent does tweet, imagine the scrum he's going to have to face, because I'm sure in Tampa it wasn't very big, and now he's got to do 2 scrums, English and French.
Yes. Well, that's it for this week's show. I want to thank Chris Nilan, Jessica Rusnak, and Pat Hickey for joining me. We'll be back again here. If Alex Galchenyuk gets traded or something like that happens, we'll be back here again to discuss it all. In the meantime, you can keep track of all the latest Canadiens news, as always, at hockeyinsideout.com. Read the Gazette. Follow us on YouTube. Enjoy your summer.